Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, Shem Yahweh Shai, Shemakakwadash, and I want to say Shalom, Yak Nakwat out there, pursuing this truth diligently. Coming at you once again with another lesson. Bear with me just one moment. Today, I got one that I got off of Reddit. Now, this was in the popular section of Reddit, the popular page, which, of course, is the page that basically funnels all of the threads, anything that's popular, anything that's getting a lot of engagement. It's one big hub for that. And this was getting a lot of engagement, okay? And it's from the teachers Reddit by, someone just under the name of Significant Name 3508, which is just a randomly generated Reddit name. A lot of people just use the random generated one for throwaway accounts, something they don't really want to be linked or tied to, so they'll just use the basic one, or they'll type in something throwaway, right? Well, this was their throwaway count, more than likely. It's called Significant Name 3508. Now, it's under teacher support and or advice. Okay, that was the topic. Okay, because each Reddit will have their topic. All right, so whatever you post, you'll choose a topic. I subscribe to a lot of the game. I'm mostly on Reddit for a lot of the gaming stuff, and but it's also good for news. But say if I had a question on a game, because that's usually what I post on Reddit for. I'll be like, for example, I had an issue one time with an Elder Scrolls game, right? I was having some bug when it was an issue where the textures weren't loading in right. So I selected in that subreddit bugs or advice, all right? So it'll sort it that way. So this is under the teacher support and or advice area, right? And it says, so this is what it says, what she said here. She said, I teach 8th grade. I'm in my 4th year. I'm ish, and I wear a Star of necklace every day, and I'm open about it when students ask. I'm not going to say certain things because I don't want it to trigger certain things, right? It says, my students are currently reading the diary of Anne in their ELA classes. And the curriculum included a lot of information on the rise of anti-Sem, leading to the cost of hollows. All right. Again, there's going to be a lot of code language in this one. So if you're listening, Slakia, you can put hollow, all right, by itself. And then right behind that, you can put cost, all right, and put 2 and 2 together. And the same thing with they're reading the diary of who? Anne. Who exactly? Frank. Okay. Put those 2 together. And then the David, right? That's the star she was wearing. So again, a lot of code. And she's ish. All right. 1948 are the Tiny Tops, Tiny Hatters. All right. The Mad Hatters, whatever you want to call them. All right. The usurpers, all right, of our lineage. Right. That's, the thieves of our bloodline, right? Putting it in there in code. So, again, hopefully that's enough. If you can't, you're going to have to just take a peek at the screen, see what's on here real quick, and then go back to me and listening and, then put 2 and 2 together. Because, again, they're crazy with this type of stuff, right? We already know you can't say certain things about certain people without certain outcomes certainly happening. So it says, I have a student who likes to challenge me on everything I say every day. It's exhausting. She's been written up more than I can recall. We've had meetings with mom and admin, but it never changes. Today, she would not sit in her assigned seat. She wanted to sit with her friends and told me it wasn't fair. I told her that she couldn't sit in her assigned seat. I told her that she can sit in her assigned seat or she can go sit in the front office. She got up from her seat and loudly said, no wonder why everyone hates the you-know-whats. Okay? There you go. And what I took out of this, and the title of the lesson is going to reflect that, Lord willing, is about the indoctrination that's happening to, the children within the schools. Okay? Now, She gave that away right here. They always reveal themselves. It says, and the curriculum included a lot of information on the rise of anti-Shem, leading to the Costa Hollow. Why are you teaching so much information on the rise of anti-Shem? Why? Why? Why is it? And that's because, again, who do you think really comes up with these curriculums? Okay? It's not, you know, we'll look it up, and it's not going to give you, does the school board, it's not going to tell you who really comes up. Does the school board come up with curriculum? Or is there things that are federally mandated? That's what they say. School boards, along with state departments of education, primarily determine curriculum, while there are no federally mandated curricula in the U.S. Bullshit. That's bullshit. There's another one of those plausible deniabilities that system that Esau likes to operate behind. There's no federally mandated curricula. Yes, there is. They'll just never let you see it. Okay? It says education is highly decentralized. No, it's not. Just like, you know, what else is decentralized? The banks? They're not. Meaning local school boards choose textbooks and teaching methods often guided by state standards, with federal law prohibiting the federal government from directing specific curriculum. I'm going to ask it a question. This is just the Google AI. And I'm going to say, so there's nothing stopping a school board from teaching, say, I'm teaching certain things. So there's nothing stopping a school board from teaching certain things. It says wait a minute. It says while schools have significant power, they are not unstoppable. Their authority is strictly defined by state and federal laws. Wait a minute. So there's no federal curricula, but federal law does have effect on it. Okay. It says they can be sued or overruled if they step outside those bounds. There are 3 major stoppers that can prevent a school board from simply teaching whatever they want. The most direct check on a school board is the state government. If a board tries to teach something that contradicts state law, the state can withhold funding or even remove board members. Prohibited topics. As of 2024, at least 21 states have passed laws or executive orders restricting the teaching of divisive concepts related to race, gender, or sexual orientation. It says mandatory content. States often mandate specific subjects such as financial literacy, American history, or science of reading, phonics. A school board cannot simply decide to stop teaching these. So while they have the technical control, the state has, all the control on that, and the state doesn't really have much control over the federal government. Okay, the federal government can tell a state, hey, this needs to be in your fucking curricula, or that's it, that's your ass. Right? People start going missing, shit starts happening. All right? It's just not, you don't see it on the level of, it's the school board doing it. I'm gonna get it wrapped up here. State standards. Boards must ensure the curriculum meets the state's academic standards so students can pass mandatory state exams. So, I'm just gonna quote this. All right. Prohibited topics. So, so you stated they are restricted from teaching divisive concepts. Could they have a segment where they talk about how white people are being unfairly treated these days and how they are uncomfortable uncomfortable about it, and how we should take more steps toward making white people's problems known and not silenced, in lieu of in favor of other people's. I bet it's gonna say no. Okay, so this is what I put. I said, you stated there are they are restricted from teaching divisive concepts. Could they have a segment where they talk about how white people are being unfairly treated these days, and how they are uncomfortable about it, and how we should take more steps towards making white people's problems known and not silence in the favor of other people's, and to put yourself in their shoes for a day? Because that's what they do for the small hatters. Whether a school board can include a segment on the unfair treatment of white people depends heavily on how it's taught and which state laws are in effect. While school boards have the broad authority of curriculum, divisive concept laws in the U.S. Constitution create specific boundaries for such a proposal. 1. Compliance with divisive concept laws. Most of the 21-plus states with these laws use language originally from federal executive orders that prohibit specific prohibited concepts. The no-guilt rule. These laws typically state that no student should be made to feel discomfort, guilt, anguish, or any other form of psychological distress because of their race. A lesson focused on white discomfort could be seen as violating this if it pressures students of other races to feel guilt for that discomfort. Stereotyping or scapegoat. So wait a minute. Hold up. If we go back to this, my students are currently reading the diary of Anne, you-know-who, and their ELA classes. And the, I guess that's English literature arts. It says, and the curriculum included a lot of information on the rise of anti-Shem, leading to the, you know what, that would make, do you think maybe that would make someone who's German very uncomfortable? Okay, maybe that would make them very uncomfortable. Or being, talking about how you being an Ish teacher and doing this curriculum about all this Ish people and how much you suffered, maybe that's going to make them feel uncomfortable about who they are. Okay, I'm talking about, we're being unfairly persecuted, and a lot of people don't see it. Well, that might make people feel uncomfortable, but why are you allowed to do that then? Okay. And we're going to ask, I'm going to switch it up to Ish, and they're going to completely override it and say, oh, no, wait, no, this is different. Because that's what they do. They do that constantly. Stereotyping and scapegoating. Laws in Tennessee and Florida prohibit race stereotyping, which include ascribing specific character traits or a value to a whole race. Teaching that an entire racial group is being silenced or unfairly treated as a factual monolith might be challenged as racial stereotyping under these statutes. Mediocrity and power. Many laws prohibit teaching that the United States is fundamentally racist or that a rule of law is just a series of power struggles between groups. They prevent that from being taught because it's true. That's more indoctrination right there. It says a curriculum arguing that white people are being systematically sidelined in favor of others could be flagged if it frames the government or school system as fundamentally biased in its power structure. And then it gets constitutional and federal boundaries. Even without state-specific divisive concept laws, federal protections apply. Equal Protection Clause. Under the 14th Amendment, public schools cannot discriminate based on race. If a curriculum is found to promote one race's grievances without denigrating another's, it could be sued for creating a discriminatory environment. Huh. Wait a minute. Okay. It says compelled speech. First Amendment prevents schools from forcing students to personally affirm or adopt a specific political viewpoint. So a board could present these views as one perspective among many, but they cannot mandate that the students agree with the statement that white people are being unfairly treated. So they cannot, you can't, for example, in that class, they should not, if someone says, I feel like what happened to the 48ers was justified, and I think that, you know, Hit Boy, all right, I think that Hit Boy, all right, Lur, all right, was right in what he did, then guess what? They couldn't send them to the principal's office. But I guarantee in school he said no. Now, I think what happened to those people was correct, and I think that the regime that was in, rulership at the time, I think they were absolutely correct. All right, and then you throw up a salute, you're probably getting expelled. You're probably getting expelled. But it says that compelled speech, you cannot mandate that a student agrees with the statement that white people are being unfairly treated. Okay, so say. Okay, say this was being taught and a student said, no, I disagree. I feel as a white person, I'm being targeted, and I don't believe the people saying it's white people who are the issue, and then throws up a symbol over their heart that aligns them with a let's say that aligns them with a, how'd they say it, a pro-white protection guild, and they get sent to the principal or expelled, that's lawsuit territory. Let's see. So I said, okay, so if this was being taught and a student said, no, I disagree. I feel as a white person that I'm being targeted, and I don't believe with the people that are saying it's white people who are the issue. And then and then they go ahead and they throw a symbol up over their heart. Let's just say it's like a three finger symbol, and that aligns them with a pro-white protection guild, right? We believe that white people have the right to exist, and in our society they do that. Is that lawsuit territory? It says that scenario. This scenario enters lawsuit territory immediately because it involves several layers of protected constitutional rights. Whether the student wins would depend on whether the school can prove his actions caused a substantial disruption to the classroom. Freedom of symbolic speech. Under the landmark Supreme Court case, Tinker versus Des Moines in 1969, students do not shed their constitutional rights at the schoolhouse gate. Symbolic acts. Wearing a symbol or throwing it up over the heart is considered pure speech protected by the First Amendment. Disruption test. A school cannot punish a student because they find a viewpoint offensive or unpleasant. They must prove the symbol caused or was likely to cause a material or substantial interference with the school operations. Hate speech versus political speech. If the pro-white protection guild is classified as a hate group, or the symbol is a known white supremacist icon, the school has much more power to ban it as a violation of other students' rights into a safe environment. See, that's where they get up. That's where they get. Well, what if it's classified as one, but they were raised in a traditional setting and don't believe it's hate speech, but that it's their right. It says, in the American legal system, a student's sincere personal belief of a traditional upbringing does not override schools' authority to restrict hate speech that's to restrict speech that's classified as hate speech or a harassment-based symbol. So, but the school can tell them their wrong. They're hateful. They have no right for their beliefs and be fine. They're not fine. See all the fucking stipulation? It says it's not fine for a school to tell a student their personal beliefs are wrong or hateful if those beliefs are expressed peacefully. Doing so can cross the line of viewpoint discrimination and compelled speech, both of which are strictly limited by the First Amendment. Schools cannot mandate correct beliefs. Under the landmark case, West Virginia, blah, 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 the Supreme Court ruled that no government official can prescribe what shall be orthodox in politics, nationalism, or religion. Let me go on this. So how can they prescribe that the symbol is wrong for the student if that's his beliefs and how he was brought up? We'll get there in just a minute, brothers and sisters. I'm going to switch this all up, and you're going to see how it's going to change so quickly. In the American legal system, a school's power to ban a symbol has almost nothing to do whether the student's beliefs as sincere or traditional, and everything to do with how the symbol affects the rest of the school. So, no, they do get to... So no. So, I'm just going to say, so, no. They do dictate what's right and wrong then. You just said it. If they can say that it's wrong, then they're allowed to dictate what's right and wrong. See, in a legal sense, there's a major difference between a school telling a student their belief is wrong and a school telling a student that their behavior is prohibited. Well, what if their behavior reflects their beliefs? This is the exact point that most school legal battles happen. In the eyes of law, your right to hold a belief is absolute, but your right to act on a belief is limited. So you can have a belief, but you cannot exercise it. Okay? There you go. That's... See? Okay, let's go back to step 1. Instead of teaching white people are guilty, the school or a teacher, I'm going to say a Jewish teacher, is teaching the diary of and how the guy blurred out. Blank it out, at least, in speech. You can read it if you want. And anti-Shem is rising. This is making a German student and that the let's see what it says. So I said, okay, let's go back to step 1. Instead of teaching white people are guilty, Ish teacher is teaching the diary of you-know-who and how the Ish suffered greatly and anti-Shem is rising and that the Ish suffered extremely and still are. Teaching the you-know-what and the diary you-know-what is one of the freer eras where many states move away from local control and actually mandate specific curriculum content. What, hold up. I thought we couldn't mandate stuff like that. Hold up. Unlike many other topics, what's this? You know what, is frequently required subject by state. Why is it? So, no, it's mandated. So you must teach it. You must teach it, which limits the school board's ability to even remove it. If that ain't indoctrination, I don't know what is. As of early 2025, approximately 29 states have laws requiring public schools to teach about it. There you go. And states like Florida, Illinois, New Jersey. I wonder why New Jersey. Education on that subject is a legal requirement for all elementary and secondary school. A school board in these states cannot simply decide to stop teaching it. Let's see. Some states like Texas recently moved forward making books like that required reading for all students. But why not? Interesting. There's no federal law that forces the school to teach it, but the government strongly encourages it. So yeah, sure. What if it's making a German student uncomfortable? When I get speaking and typing, I end up spelling shit all wrong. I gotta slow down. In the eyes of the law, there's a massive difference between a student feeling uncomfortable because of a historical fact and then being targeted by a teacher. If a German student feels uncomfortable, the school's response depends on the teacher's teaching history or attacking the student's identity. So, facts are allowed. Guilt is not allowed. A teacher cannot tell a German student you should feel guilt for what your ancestors did because you're German, you're inherently oppressor. So yeah, a little bit different. Can the student opt out? No, they can't. So it doesn't matter if they're. So it doesn't matter if the German student feels uncomfortable. It's more about the Jews. So, in the eyes of the law, it matters why the student's uncomfortable. The legal system draws a fine line between emotional discomfort from facts and being targeted by the school. Okay. So, if it's a hard fact, it can be taught regardless of discomfort from those facts. Yes, the eyes of the law, objective historical facts can be taught regardless of how much discomfort they cause. Okay, how about Jews owning most major businesses, major brands? And that's a fact. You can go and look that up. In the context of legal and educational standards, would not be taught as a fact because it's not factually accurate. Okay, sure. You name some things, Unilever and PepsiCo and all these different, sure. What about all the other ones? What about all the other ones, right? Why is this as a trope rather than a fact? And then it goes, look, 1903 forgery protocols. There you go. So what I got out of this is what we can see out of this is that rules for thee, but not for rules for me, but not for thee. Okay, you can't teach certain things that are against them, but if it's for them, you can. And what is this? Mind you, you can't teach anything against the Ish people, okay? And regardless of them saying it's not mandated, there's nothing mandated, then it does say it is mandated, and it's federally, pushed. It's not enforced, but it is pushed for, the states to do it, and that makes the school board do it. Bear with me 1 minute. I have to turn out my light. So, it's all a bunch of bullshit. So, really, what's happening here is it's soon as they decide that you're wrong, okay, then you're wrong, okay? That you don't have a choice. You don't have a choice. And you're teaching all these different things. Oh, the rise of anti-Shem, it's going so horrible. And you're an Ish teacher. Shouldn't that be seen? Now, how would it be? Think about it, okay? How would it be if there was a so-called black teacher and they were teaching about, oh yeah, you know, we suffered so bad during slavery and we never got reparations, and you know, systemic racism is still happening to this day, and we can see it in these industries, and they can prove it, and then how do you think that would have been taken over? That teacher, whether male or female, would be stripped out of their position, all right, of a teacher, and they'd never fucking teach again, even though they gave you fact. Oh, you can't. And then it also says there's laws on teaching things are systemic. Okay, why? When it is, systemic racism is obvious, man. It's obvious, but you know, whatever. There was it's not systemic. There was a guy that literally worked at my job that was one of the other managers that we had to stop. Me and the other head manager had to stop from fucking doing interviews because he would not hire black people, right? He wouldn't even let them, he wouldn't get him past the interview. He'd say, oh, they didn't push the chair in, they didn't shake my hand correctly, or they didn't, you know, have the correct shoes, or they didn't do this, but would never do that with a so-called white person. You know what that person was? They were fucking Asian, all right? That's what they were, okay? And a Moabite, all right? A Moabite. But again, can't say anything against them. Can't say anything against the small. You can say whatever you want against a black person. It don't fucking matter. You can see it on YouTube. Go and try to make an anti-Semitic comment. It will not let you. Go and try to make an anti-black comment. Say, oh, ashamed of everything, offended by nothing. Always the usual suspect. Of course it's them. Well. Usual. No stereotypes were offended or hurt during the making of this video. And those comments will stay up. Go and try to say something about a Jewish person. Instantly taken down. And you'll be banned. And you'll be blocked. But you can say whatever you want about black people, and they take our videos down. All right? They take our videos down constantly. All right? If we had videos of us talking shit about black people, all right, they wouldn't care. But because we talk, you know, about those that are trying to usurp our true identity, who we really are, we are the Jews. All right? The so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. And if they take the video down, all they're doing is proving the fact. That's all they're doing is proving the fact, okay? They're proving it as a fact. So thank you, Esau, if you do, because you just proved that what I said was correct and that we really are the people. Thank you. Thank you very much. Round of applause, everyone. Round of applause. Okay? And guess what? It'll just be up on another channel. Okay? But anyway, that's what they do, man. That's what they do. And I think it's a little fucking weird that you're an ish teacher wearing a David necklace and teaching a curriculum about how, you know, there's so much anti-Shem going on these days. That's crazy. Think about it, if it was a black teacher, all right, wearing a daishiki, that's some African shit, but you know, these black people in the world, they think that they're, our people think that they're African because Esau has lied to them, all right? And think about a black teacher wearing a daishiki, all right, and an Africa necklace, all right, the symbol of Africa on a necklace, talking about, oh, you know, these it's a rise of black people being lynched and being discriminated against and all that. That school, you'd probably have teachers trying to, other teachers that would be like, I don't even know why they taught that. That was completely fucking wrong. You'd have parents showing up trying to find out where this teacher lived and do them harm. But because they are who they are, they have no problem. All right. Now, people in the comments, some of them were against her. All right. Quite a few, mind you. This one said, you are wearing the foremost symbol on a flag of an ethno-state actively carrying out a genocide. Israel is of course to blame for hiding, using false anti-Shemitic claims to justify their atrocities. Watch me get banned or some shit for objectively stating fact. And people know it now. You get banned, your videos get taken down, you get deleted, your account gets removed. All these things for talking about these people. Look what happened to Kanye. All right, let's go read a lyric real quick. KJV. Kanye. And this song got banned. All right, his song HH, okay? Think about it. This song, but and people say, "Oh, that's ridiculous." Listen to what he's saying, man. Right? If you just listen to, if they try to play Kanye off as crazy, if you just listen to what he said, he's stating fact. All right, he was wrong about the 12 tribes of Judah. It's 12 tribes of Israel. He doesn't know what's going on. He's not really in it because he's still out there making music. But he was right on what he was saying in a lot of things. If you go and look at the lyrics, Let me see. Here it was. Listen to what he said. He said, man, these people took my kids from me. Because guess what? That's what happened. All right. Then they closed my bank account. I got so much anger in me. Got no way to take it out. Feel like I'm stuck in the Matrix. And then he says a bunch of other crazy shit. He says, the shit that I'm posting on Twitter, they're telling me, yay, don't say that. How ninjas can't see me in public. I'm driving an all-chrome Maybach. With all this money and fame, I still can't get my kids back. With all this money and fame, I still don't get to see my children. Ninjas see my Twitter, but they don't know how I be feeling. So I became, you know what? Otzi. Yeah, bitch, I'm the villain. Okay? And then he says, you know, Ninja, you know what? They don't understand the things I say on Twitter. Hell, you know what? That's what he's saying. All right? And nobody got this. Okay? I'm not saying I'm some deep renowned person, but I understand what Ye was talking about when he made this. I read all of his posts that he was talking about. Right? What this song is not him literally being a, I'm just going to say a Yahtzee. All right? Like the game. He's not talking about being a Yahtzee. Okay? He's saying they don't understand the things I say on Twitter. Hell, you know what? All right? That's what he's saying. Why? Because, and he made a thing. He said, I can't remember exactly what he said, but look, you could have all these different symbols of hate, okay? You can have the Ku Klux Klan hood, all right? You can have the burning cross. You can have all these different things, all right, that are against, you know, the monkey faces and the big lip and the what do they call them? They had a name for the little babies. I can't remember that they had a racist name for the babies, and they had a name for the come on now, it's not pickaninny, the pickaninny for the women. They had all these different things, and those are like, yeah, whatever. You could probably show them and get away with it, but if you show a Swazi, done, banned, account taken down, sued, all of your money lost, everything out of you, done. That's why he started making those shirts that had that symbol on it. Right? And that's basically what he's saying in the post, is that you can say anything towards a black man. You can call him the N-word. You can call him a coon, a moon cricket, jigaboo, whatever you want to say to a black man. But you say anything about this one people that I'm not going to mention, you know, even saying that, they'll take your video down because they know who you're talking about. Oh, the people you can't mention, we know who you're talking about. We gotcha right there. All right? And they'll, boom, take your shit down immediately. Okay? That's what they do. That's what these people do. And is that a fact? Yes, it's a fact. All right? A lot of us lost pages. A lot of it is anything that goes against their, either what they have to do or something they're trying to push. All right? Like the Fauci food. Fauci food. Remember the Fauci food in 2020? They made you eat it. Remember that? Remember the thing? Right? Go against that. Boom. Taken down. Can't say anything about it. Why? Even though there's other issues about the thing about that in which I cannot talk about, that I may or may not be talking about, depending on which way you're coming to think about what I'm saying right now. Gotta speak like a fucking deranged man. All right, that there was issues with that one thing over there that these people may or may not have been taking about that one thing. There was issues coming out with it. All right, certain effects of the body that were not so wanted. All right. That's all I can say. Again, that's their system, and they purposely make it to where you cannot speak against them. Okay? So that's what he's saying here, man. He's not saying, oh, literally, I'm a, no. He was talking, he talked about some of the stuff that Adolfo, right, said, all right, about these people, all right, and how they were and how it was, you know, lining up to be, you know, factually accurate, allegedly. And then he's saying they don't understand the things I say on Twitter. Hell, you know what? All right. And then if you go and look up, let's go and see some of the things he said. Look at this. Even Pierce Morgan said Kanye being locked out of his social media accounts isn't an attack on free speech. It's a justified. He said it's a justified suppression of vile, indefensible hate speech. It is. It is. All right, it was hate speech. Okay. He said, and what he said in his original post is, I'm a bit sleepy tonight, but when I go, you know what, on you know what people, the funny thing is I actually can't even be anti-Shemitic because black people are actually Jews. All right, that's what he said. All right, and anybody else can be a Jew, but the black people cannot. All right. What else? Look at what he said. He said all white people are racist. All right. And then he went on to say, ish people actually hate white people and use black people. All right. He said, white people and you know what people are different. You can get money with the you know what people, but they always going to steal and invite you over to their house on Friday. White people do not give a fuck with, I'm guessing, ninja. They leave that to the you know what people if you think you're getting money. Okay. And then he said all these, I'm a you know what. You know who was so fresh. I love you know who. Now what, bitches? After further reflection, I've come to the realization that I am not a you know what. Right? But no, he did all these things, but he had some comments in here. Let's see. He had one. He said, I don't even know what the fuck anti-you-know-what means. It's just some bullshit that these people used to made up to protect their bullshit. Was that the right there? Right? And, you know, he eventually backtracked on it because he wanted his money back. But there was one. I wanted to see it. He had a whole long post, and it was a good one. It explained why he did what he did. Let me see. I can't necessarily find it. Let me see. Trying to find it. They made sure to take that one down. I can't even find it, man. There's one where he basically talked about it, right? He basically talked about how you can, you know, do anything else towards black people, but you can't do anything against them. All right, they're the most protected people. Okay, and again, I haven't really mentioned what people I'm talking about. Who's the most protected people? Well, that's up to you to decide. But anyway, yeah. So they're saying you are wearing the foremost symbol of a flag of an ethno-state actively carrying out a genocide, and they've been doing that. They've been, what? This is just the newest one that they're doing. And anytime you criticize them, you're anti, you know what, and then they just throw you away. Like Kanye said, it says that's just some bullshit to hide their shit, right? That's just some bullshit that they came up with to hide their shit. No. Hey, man, you're coming over here stealing out of the cookie jar. No, we're not. You're being anti-Shem. No. What are those in your hands? Cookies. Didn't you get those from the jar? Yes. So you did take it. No, you're being anti-Shem. Sure. It says they're using false anti-you-know-what claims to justify their atrocities, and that's what they're doing, and you can't call them out. It says, watch me be banned or some shit for objectively stating facts. And this person said, do you hold this true for the cross necklaces, given the Catholic Church's ongoing abuse of children? Yeah, absolutely. It says, do you hold this to be true for the hijab, given Saudi Arabia's apartheid state? Yeah, absolutely. This person said it. They said, yeah, fuck all religions, except ours, right? It says, fuck all religions, their hypocrisy, and they're hiding behind their God for their actions. And it's true. That's what Islam does, and that's what a lot of these other places do, right? Not like the Nation of Islam, but regular Islamics over there. Nation of Islam, and then Islam over in that country is a fair bit different. Okay, a fair bit different. In this country, say Assalamu alaikum, and some of them still drink alcohol and stuff. All right, some still drink alcohol. Some of them still munching on some Haribo gummy bears with gelatin in it. All right, over there, they're damn well ready to chop your head off for doing something like that. All right. So anyway, in all we got, and I've already talked for 30 minutes, 45 minutes. I haven't even got a scripture yet, Salakia. But all that to show you that this is all just a big ring of indoctrination. It's a big ring of indoctrination, man. Isaiah 10:1, it says, "Woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees and write grievousness which they have prescribed." And that's what they do. These primarily these Edomites that are in control, but over the Edomites, are a small little group of a different type of people known as the Amalekites, and they're those one people that you can't say anything against. Okay? And what do? They decree unrighteous decrees. And decreeing that something like that being taught in school, meanwhile, you don't teach anything about the transatlantic slave trade, a people that is much more present in the United States, not the 1948ers. That is unrighteous. That is unrighteous. Okay, to teach, these people that are not even from here, that are not even in this land, and haven't been here for even all that many generations, but these people, these other so-called Negro, Latino, and Native Americans that have been here, and we did all these atrocities against, and we stole their land, and on top of stealing their land, we took some of their other land during a war that we forcibly made them to sell their land, Issachar, and then we took these other people from all places across the world, all right, and we enslaved them and made them into our slaves. But don't teach anything about that. Matter of fact, remove all those monuments from the national forest. Remove anything that has to do about slavery. Remove this from the curriculum. Don't teach about it. Don't teach critical race theory. Don't teach, but go ahead and teach that diary. All right, make them feel bad and let them bow before your masters. All right, bow before your fucking masters. That's who they know. So Isaiah 10:1, woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees and that write grievousness which they have prescribed. All right, and I'm gonna have to put this lesson on my backup. I just don't trust it. It says to turn aside the needy from judgment and take away the right from the poor of my people, that widows may be their prey and that they may rob the fatherless. And that's what they do. It's all against the Lord's people. All right, and the Lord's people are the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, as they're called today. All right, but they're really, Israelites. Okay, the 12 tribes, all different flavors. All right, Naphtali, Manasseh. All right, Ephraim. Okay, Judah, Benjamin, Levi. Okay, Gad, Issachar. All right. So yeah, man, you can't. You're gonna have to pay for that, E. You have a lot of shit to pay for, man. And you too, Amalek. All right, which are really just a different flavor of Edomite. All right. But Proverbs 22:6, it says, train up a child in the way that he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. Now, this is a scripture, all right, within, of course, the King James Bible, as we just read in Proverbs 22:6. And that shows you that, and why do you teach them when they're children? Because information is most able to be recalled upon, learned, and stored at a young age. If you train up a child in the way that he should go, he's going to remember that. All right. If you teach him how to, tie a shoe at a young age, you remember that throughout your whole life. Okay. How to use coloring pencils and crayons. You learn that, you use that through your whole life. How to use scissors your whole life. How to use glue. You use that your whole life. A lot of the things that we know and still use today, how to wipe our ass. All right. How to shake your shit off in the toilet. Make sure you ain't getting piss dribbling down your leg. Right. How to, wash your hands after going to the bathroom. Think about all the things that we use, how to sit in a chair, how to, things that we do. That's all things we learned as a child. Okay. So, that's when you're the most able to learn information. It's not when you're 30. Okay. Your brain cells are already dying off when you're 30. You can look that up. All right. It happens pretty much right at 30. Okay. Now at that point, it's a use it or lose it. Okay, you got to use your brain or lose your brain. All right, that's why you see older people that are not generally thinking, using crossword puzzles and doing stuff like that. Instead, they just watch TV all day and they don't really go anywhere. They don't work out. They don't do anything. Their brain just deteriorates. It goes, and they can't remember things. They lose their mind, and that's it. It's toast. So, and then some other people have the unfortunateness of, getting dementia and stuff like that. And that's not really anything by their own doing, right? That's just something that got put on them. Let me grab this drink of water. But this shows you that if you want, a child to know it's right, you train them up in the way that they should go at a very young age, okay? Because they're going to know those things. They're going to know the names Yahweh, Shemi, Shai. They're going to know what's right and what's wrong. And they're going to keep that throughout their life. He will not depart from it. The same way with, all these things. All right, how to drink water, how to pour a drink, how to pour a juice. Those were all things that we were taught when we were a child, and now we grow up knowing those things. Okay, how to ride a bike. All right, now you can learn when you're older, but it's harder generally. Okay, and if you fall, it's a heavier fall. When you're a kid, you could fall and keep getting up. If you're an adult, you might give up on riding a bike if you fall the third or fourth time. You're like, fuck this, man, this shit sucks. All right, but these demons, these devils out there, they know that, so they make sure to indoctrinate the children young. Okay, they make sure to teach them now at very young school grades about a man and another man making love, which is not something that should be being taught, okay? Or, anti-Shem, or this and that. And they teach these different things. Love is love, and free love, and all these different things. And, and the, what's the other thing they have? Like the, not sanct, what do they call it? Like sanctum, being a sanctum. Okay, where they can come in and they can have they're talking about this transgenderism sanctum in schools, sanctuary, where essentially if their parents are abusive or aggressive or however, and they don't like them being that, they can come to school and they can have a different name at school. Charlie can be, I don't know, well, Charlie's already kind of a unisex name, but Charlie can be Chrissy, all right, and if you don't have the clothes, they'll give you a dress right then and there in your size, right? So that's taking away freedom of, the state already owns your kids. All right, they already own your kids. They already own all of us, especially they own your kids, because we're all owned and bought and sold as stocks with our birth certificates, man. Which again, according to Google, is not correct, because nothing is correct. Nothing that we say is correct according to Google, and everything that they say is correct. It is correct for a man to chop his wiener off, but it's not okay for us to criticize against that. But these people know that. These demons know that children are the most acceptable to, new information. And that's why they indoctrinate so heavily in the schools. Okay, let me grab this drink. You can read the information on the phone, on the computer if you want while I'm doing this, but I'm going to read it once I get done with this drink, Lord willing. Excuse me. So it says, people are most receptive and capable to absorbing new information at a young age, with the brain plasticity highest at birth and throughout childhood. However, specific cognitive functions peak at different times. Raw processing power peaks around 18-19, short-term memory at 25, and exploratory behavior, new experiences at 18 to 21. 18 to 21, that's the fucking, I'm a party out, these women going out there, I'm a fuck 3,000 dicks, right? That's what these women do. Or, all these guys, I'm gonna do all the drugs, right? So childhood, 0 to 9, the brain is mostly plastic, rapidly forming connections and absorbing information. So they learn that throughout their lives. All right, early adulthood, 18 to 25. That's when you really, start to have your final decisions made. All right, by 25, 26. All right, you're pretty much getting there on how you're mostly probably going to be throughout most of your life. Okay, so adolescence, early adulthood, 18 to 21. That's out of order, but that should have been above early adulthood. But mid-30s, approximately 32, the brain completes its final development phase, stabilizing long-term thinking and shifting focus towards refining knowledge rather than pure acquisition. So you're refining knowledge. Okay, you're not going to acquire much more information. I mean, you can still learn, but you're at that point they're going to call you what is at 30. You are fully what they call set in your ways. Set in your ways. Okay, someone's not going to be brought out after that. Okay, it's just that's and really, 30 is, biblically that's a significant age. I mean, you're not nowadays, 30, you're still a child. No, you're not. I mean, Yahushua went upon the cross when he was 30, as they say. Right? How old was, have to put Jesus when he died? 33 to 36. Okay. Began his ministry around 30. So, that's well, he'd been, they said began his ministry, but he'd been teaching since he was a child. So they're kind of going off on that. If they're just saying he only started teaching, because he said going about my father's business, and that's when he was around 12. So yes, he was doing what the father was doing. But anyway, a lot of lessons within lessons. Anyway, I think they're talking about more so in the latter side when he fully started, doing the travels. But Psalms 55 and 21, going back, so that shows, that these devils they're cunning in what they do. They're wise in doing evil. Okay, they're wise in their wickedness because they know that the most plasticity in the brain is as a childhood, and they're the most receptive to new knowledge. So they put that wicked information, that forbidden knowledge within their brain, and then they know they're going to go about that, possibly thinking that for the rest of their life, right? So Psalm 55 and 21. I remember being in school. I was in school up until like 2015. Well, I dropped out of the major school system, but up until I dropped out basically when I was like 15. All right, 15, 16, did some online schooling after that, and then just switched over from that to just learning online, just doing online studies of subjects that were actually interesting to me. All right, a lot of that was music, learning audio engineering. All right, learning art, specifically, digital art, and not necessarily illustration, but just graphic design, mostly with logos and stuff. And a lot of computer technologies and building computers, and learning about GPUs, CPUs, motherboards, all that different type of stuff. How to build computer operating systems, how to troubleshoot and operate operating systems, primarily Windows, a little bit of Linux, not too much. Linux back then, Linux was really fucking complicated. Now you have distros like Arch Linux that's just anybody can do it, but back then it was mostly terminal based. It was like DOS. So, but that's where I shifted my basis of information over to, right? And up until I was more quick witted until COVID. That shit. I felt like I had a perpetual brain fog after that shit, right? I'm more than I ever was before, right? And a lot of people are talking about that. That shit has permanent, lasting effects on you. But hey, I'm still here. I'm still making lessons. I'm still quick-witted enough to do it. Sometimes, my brain just gets into a bog, all right? And you got to get it out of it. It happens to the best of us, right? So, but yeah, man. And, a lot of that is also not enough mental stimulation happening these days. So, anyway. But Psalms 55 and 21, dealing with Esau, the words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords. And one of those soft things is, we should all just, love each other, and, love is love. And if two men want to get together, two women want to get together, that's that smooth butter. And it says, love is love. We shouldn't hurt anybody's feelings. Yet they hate black people. That's war, and they're telling you those things so you can destroy yourselves. All right, ultimately, that's what they're doing. And he's smooth with it. That's that same spirit. Esau has that same spirit that was in the serpent, that same spirit that was in Cain, and it became to be the spirit of Esau. All right, and this is the spirit, that same spirit, but here it is in Genesis 3 and 1 in the garden as the serpent. Okay, Genesis 3 and 1. Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Lord Yahweh had made. There you go. And he said unto the woman, Yea, hath Yahweh said, Ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden. And that's where I'm going to leave it right there on that part, because of course you can get into the next and go into what happened with Eve, but of course she was beguiled. All right, she was gotten. All right, he came in with that subtlety, and you were deceived. Okay, but as it said, the woman being deceived was in transgression. So subtle, what does that mean? Crafty, cunning, delicate, thin. Okay, like a subtle serpent. Okay, a high precision of sharpness. Okay, quick, yeah. So anyway, cleverness and deceit. What is deceit? Deceiving someone by concealing or misrepresenting the truth. Deceiving, what? It's usually for, deliberately causing someone to believe something that's not true, especially for personal gain. And what do they get out of it? Order ob chaos, order through chaos. They need a chaotic society to, quote unquote, restore order to it as they think that they're going to. Anyway, they're bugged out. They think they're going to do all this shit that they're not going to be able to really do. But anyway, another one that proves it is Revelation 12 and 9, showing you that old serpent, same one. It says, in the great dragon that was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, because again, sometimes they're all called Satan. A lot of times Satan is referring to the spiritual demon Satan, but sometimes you see them referred to as Satan as well, because they're walking in the ways of Satan, right? That's their god. It says, which deceiveth the whole world. Again, that's what they do. They deceive. It says, he was cast out in the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. That's his armies, essentially. But yeah, man, that's what he does. He goes about and he deceives the whole world. He deceives the whole world, causing them to believe things that are not true. That's what deception is, all right, for a personal gain. And one of those biggest deceptions was that these 1948ers are the people, and that the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans are not. You know, he took away our how's the scripture say it? Took away our heritage, essentially, right? You wanted to cut us off from even being anyone. We're no one. We're just black and brown people. That's all we are, right? Psalm 83 and 4, it says, they have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation in the name of that the name of Israel may no longer. I messed it all up. Slacky, I got too excited. Psalms 83 and 4, they have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. Excuse me. And they did it. All right. And you say, well, Israel's not the real Israel. All right. We're not known. We're not in remembrance. All right. Other than now through Yahweh Shem Shai. But no, they're Israel. They have somebody else. Right. That's the Amaleks over there. Okay, Esau's grandkid. You can go look, Amalek. It should tell you, Amalek, grandson of Esau. Boom. That's all they are. And the grandson of Esau means they're still an Edomite, essentially. That's their bloodline, but they're just a specific variety of Edomites. They're a different tribe, essentially, a tribe of Edomites, if you want to get it. Like how the so-called black people, so-called Negroes are the Judites, and the so-called Native Americans are the Gadites. They're both Israelites. They have different tribes, but they're both Israelites. Esau, Amalek, same thing with Gog, Gomer. They're all Edomites. They're just different tribes thereof. You know, Gomer's the Germans, Gog is the Russians, and Amalek is the 1948ers, and Esau's the so-called white man, just the regular European, right? So they're all the same. They're just, different tribes. They got slightly different things, but they're all essentially they all come from Esau. Okay? All come from Esau. Just like our tribes, we all come from Jacob. Okay? But they did this with Moab and Ishmael and other nations as well. It wasn't just Esau that did it. You can see right here in 5, it says, for they have consulted together with one consent that they are confederate against thee. Right here, the tabernacles of Edom and the Ishmaelites and Moab and the Hagarenes. Gebal and Ammon. That's the Ammon is the the Japanese, so-called. And Amalek, that's the 1948ers, the Philistines and the inhabitants of Tyre. Assur is also joined in them. They have hope in the children of Lot, Selah. So there you see it. All nations have really been guilty of it. Okay, but Esau is the most guilty of all. Notice that they were, named, I believe they were named first. All right, let me go back. Yeah, Edom. Okay, they were the first named ones. Okay, because Esau, there's no one else more wicked than him, as we get, and that's where we're gonna close out with Hebrews 12 and 16 through 17. Lest there be any fornicator or profane person, profane, ungodly. Remember, we went back and we did I think we did fornicator and profane in the same lesson. Okay, fornicator, illicit sexual intercourse that should not be having, weird, homosexual sex with animals, sex with close relatives, sex with married women, those things. That's what fornication is. And profane, ungodly, all right, without the law, essentially, doing without it, all right, having no like for it, hateful, okay, against the Lord, okay. Lest there be any fornicator or profane person as Esau, who for one morsel of meat sold his birthright. It wasn't stolen, it was sold. Okay, it said so. Yeah, there you go. We don't need 17, but 16. 17 is informational. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying we don't need that scripture. I'm just saying we don't need it for necessarily what we're talking about today. 16 is what you need, and that's right there. No one's as wicked as Esau, and Esau is the one who's on the money. Who's on the money? It's Esau. So that's what they do. They're the ones that set up the school districts, regardless of what Google's going to tell you. There's a lot on information that you can look up, and Google will never tell you the truth about it. All right, a lot of these so-called facts are fallacies. All right, most worldly facts are fallacies. Okay, that's a title for another lesson at some other time. Most facts are fallacies. Most of Esau's facts are fallacies. Something, I don't know. But yeah, man. That's where we're gonna close out. Slocky, it took so long to get to lessons. I didn't even realize that 40 minutes had blew through before I even did it. Like I said, the Apostles of Great Millstone. I'm not in GMS, but that's who I learned from. I try to uphold, the rulings that they set for their brothers. They're not hard pressed. In the Bible, it's in the Bible. It's said it's just good, orderly conduct and good discipline that they state that you should, have a scripture done within the first 10 minutes. All right, and I didn't, so thank you for that. Lord, it was still edifying. Sometimes I get a little ahead of myself. I usually try to, but this time I was just got so ingrained into using that thing and trying to prove it. But Lord willing, they were still edifying. It was still edifying. I just wish I would have got a lesson out, a scripture out a little bit earlier. It just happened to be all at the end. So Lord willing, it was still edifying. We're going to close out with that. Lord willing, it was edifying. Again, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Shalom, you brothers and sisters out there. Keep enduring, keep the faith. We're almost out of here. Until next one, Lord willing, Shalom.